jury. The defense argued that Joseph's testimony about the time of the murder couldn't be true because Joey's testimony that Seth and Studo arrived at the New Hampshire house around 3 p.m. conflicted with the fact that Seth had been cited for a traffic violation in Massachusetts around 2:30 p.m.
Yeah, but I mean, if the kid's off a half hour, I mean, yeah. But that doesn't seem like enough to turn the tide on this case.
The defense also noted that Joey testified to several items that should have been buried with the body, with Vicki, but they weren't there.
Again, they could miss minor details, and I don't trust Joey either. Like I said, just because he's a juvenile, he doesn't get a free ride in my mind.
Seth is found guilty in 1998 and given a life sentence for the murder. He is currently in New Hampshire State Prison. Lois filed a wrongful death suit and was awarded $4 million in the settlement.
So she basically got access to, I'm going to guess, if not all, the majority of his estate, his wealth left over.
During his time in prison, Seth Bader has acted as his own attorney on a myriad of motions for a new trial, just going on and on.
And so Joey, the state witness, and he's juvenile.
Joey pled guilty in juvenile court, but served little in the way of punishment. The leniency given to Joey was criticized very openly by, well, just about everybody. That kind of deal probably would never happen again because prosecutors desperately needed his testimony and they went to great lengths to make sure they had that. But they got so much blowback for making this sweet deal with him.
Yeah, I mean, they could have gave him a reduced sentence, and he's a juvenile. He'd got on, out and still lived his life. So, yeah, they gave him that's a pretty damn sweetheart deal.
Well, for his role, I mean, people were very critical of the fact that this kid did this and
got nothing.
Had this responsibility in this and just walked away. Mary Jean was never formally indicted for Vicki's murder, though many feel she was an accessory and a conspirator. According to writer Kevin Flynn, who wrote a book, Legally Dead, which is a book about the case, and I did use that for today's case, found Martin living in Florida as late as 2011 when the book was written, so I'm not really sure where she is now, but she declined to be interviewed for the book. Martin was portrayed during the trial as a gold digger who wanted all of Seth's money for herself, but as long as Vicki was in the picture, Seth was going to have to pay her child support for their son Sam, and Seth, it seemed, would do anything to please Mary Jean.
Yeah, so I think that points to the prosecution, the strength of their case and evidence. Joey was the entire case, his testimony. So, I mean, they didn't have enough evidence or cause to bring in charges against her.
Martin, so Mary Jean Martin, allegedly met and hired two men, Sebastian Caradona and Sandro Stuto, to carry out a campaign to terrorize Vicki Bader in the months before her death. Caradona and Stuto were both convicted for their roles in the case and have since finished their prison sentences. Studo, who was present the day that Seth shot Vicki, was deported back to his native Italy after he completed his sentence.
Oh, he was a real thug.
While in prison, Seth's hired hand Studo apparently recanted, saying that Joey had murdered Vicki in exchange for sexual favors from Mary Jean, and that Seth had absolutely nothing to do with the murder.
Wow, I'm surprised they couldn't bring any charges at all against Mary Jean.
In 2005, childhood friends of Joey came forward with statements that he had been responsible for Vicki's death. Corey Almond was interviewed on July 19th and went on record stating that Joey Bader admitted to killing his stepmother, but Joey threatened to kill him if he told authorities.
Oh, God, jeez.
Almond, who was a college student at the time, was friends with Joey and frequently stayed at the Bader household. Another friend, Jonathan Kuiper, was waiting in a car during this interview, and then he was interviewed that same day, and he said he had urged Almond to come forward with that information because he knew it was true as well.
Wow, what a damn sordid tale.
A senior assistant attorney general named Will Delker said that the testimony from Bader's childhood friends provided no new evidence and there was no need for a new trial. And he said the former friend's testimony is called impeachment evidence, which is basically just that it's hearsay and could be used to question Joey's credibility. but wasn't anything really factual. And that if there had been anything really like substantial, like they had been an eyewitness or something, that the friends' testimonies could have carried some more weight.
Oh, yeah, you have to have clear and obvious, significant evidence to bring it back to trial or anything like that.
The Rockingham County Superior Court judge was a man named Walter Murphy, and he was the original trial judge in the 1998 conviction. He took all of the new information into advisement, but ultimately, Joey was not retried for his involvement.
Wow, Joey got away with it, didn't he?
The writer Flynn contacted Joey via email when he was writing his book, and the author has stated publicly that he felt Joey was legitimately remorseful for his role in the murder, and that he seems to have gotten his act together and is doing well.
Well, I guess there's that. He was young, and he was put in a bad situation. So it's easy to make judgments from here, but yeah.
I mean, Vicki was driven to the edge as this man, Seth, seduced their teenage son into this violent plot to kill her in cold blood. And what followed, as you've heard, is one of the most bizarre true crime stories in New Hampshire's history. And we've just told you the whole story right here on Mountain Murders.
Oh, my God. Man, and I will say, I must add here at the end, because this got me thinking, if you are a step-parent and you have sex with your stepchild, it's legally called incest. So don't do it.
It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're not technically married and technically their step-parent, you're living in that role, a parental figure. Plus, it's just a damn kid, bro. If you're 30-some years old and they're in their teens, it's fucking gross.
I mean, we live in a really small town where everybody knows everybody's business.
Yep.
But I totally, know a family where this happened.
This happens.
Mom married this man. He raised her daughter as if this were his own child.
Okay.
Okay, from a very tiny little girl, 2-3 years old, toddler. Yep. This man raised her. And when she was 18, she and her stepdad ran off together. Mom and stepdad divorced. Girl got pregnant, had a baby with him.
Oh, God.
And everybody that knew this, people were like,
how gross is that?
Well, I mean, we were all just like, what the fuck?
Dude, right
That's
quick.
Some crazy shit.
I can almost one-up that. I knew of a family, they had, mom and dad moving in together. You had stepbrother, stepsister. Well, they hooked up and married and had a kid. The stepbrother and stepsister. Is that gross?
Yeah, it's weird.
Isn't that pretty gross?
I think that's weird.
Yeah. No, that's super weird.
I mean, granted, you're not blood related.
You're not.
These people, you've been brought up believing these people are your family.
Yeah, but didn't you have a kid? Didn't you have a kid and you figure out grandmom and granddad are, and then you find out your parents were stepbrothers.
So then what are you? End up being like double cousins or some shit? That's my double uncle?
You're your own aunt.
I'm my own grandpa.
Oh, my God. Incest outlaws.
I know. It's like, what in the hillbilly yeehaw bullshit is that?
Don't
of course,
do
not
it.
That it just happens here in Appalachia. That sort of crazy shit happens everywhere. As we know, because stepmom, stepsister, as we mentioned before, is like the #1 searched thing on Pornhub.
What is wrong with people? What
is wrong with you people?
So if you can't get enough of Mountain Murders, which we hope you can't, you can find us on Patreon. Over on Patreon, you can subscribe for as little as $1, and $3 gets you access to more content and we have all kinds of content, and we'd love to see you over there.
So basically what we want you to do, tell a friend about Mountain Murders. Spread the word.
Yes.
And, of course, sign up at Patreon if you want. Hit subscribe, download all of our episodes, and if you're feeling really froggy, give us a 5-star review.
I'm going to beg you for that 5-star review. We could really use a couple of them hot 5-star reviews.
Please and thank you.
Yep, please.
We hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with more true crime